This Week in Startups is brought to you by Klaviyo is the e-commerce marketing platform that helps brands build relationships with memorable email and SMS messages. Over 40,000 brands choose Klaviyo to help them grow. Learn more and get started with a free trial at klaviyo.com/twist. That's KLAVIYO.com/twist. Coors Light. Say goodbye to your virtual background and hello to that beautiful travel destination in real life. To enter for a chance to win a trip to your dream location, visit CoorsLight.com/outside during September and upload a screenshot of yourself in your ideal virtual background. And LinkedIn Marketing. To redeem a free $100 LinkedIn ad credit and launch your first campaign, go to linkedin.com/thisweekinstartups.
Hey everybody, welcome back to This Week in Startups. It is 2020 and we are heading out of the summer and into the fall in the year of the pandemic. Some people are calling it the lost year. I think it's more the year to rethink and reconsider everything, and maybe take stock and appreciate life and friendship and opportunity, how we treat each other, and what we want for our world and our children going forward. That's actually been the topic I've been hearing most. I've had more people in my life tell me, I love you, J-Cal. I miss you. Can't wait to see you. And that level of appreciating each other and being there for each other, I think is the silver lining of this pandemic. And I'm really excited to have our guest on today. I think creating jobs, creating opportunity, this is something we're going to need in America in a major way, given the number of people who are unemployed. It is going to be perhaps the biggest challenge post-pandemic, along with maybe the impact this has on our kids. And so we'll talk about a little bit about that. And we'll talk about direct-to-consumer, which is a category of e-commerce. And we're going to talk about vitamins. And we're going to talk about supplements. And some people feel that's a real thing, and some people think like you get enough nutrients from vegetables, like actually the founder of Ritual, who is now on the podcast, Katarina Schneider. We're going to call her Kat, and you can follow her on the Twitter, Katarina Markov. I guess you're going by, that's your maiden.
Yeah.
And welcome to the pod. How is everything going for you running a business now into month 6 or 7 of this pandemic?
Yeah, it's going. I feel
it is 6 months. Yeah,
I can't believe it's 6 months. It's probably the slowest and the fastest 6 months I think ever. But it's going well. I feel an immense sense of gratitude for the team that we have and how the kind of the shift that people have had in the world towards their health over this time and prioritizing, nutrition, which wasn't always prioritized over other things in our lives. So, the pandemic has taken an enormous emotional toll, I think, on me personally and a lot of people in every facet of life. And I wish that our business was benefiting from something other than a global health crisis. But it's had a positive impact, I would say, on our company.
That is something that across my portfolio, I've been having a lot of candid conversations with founders. And it's almost, I won't say guilt, but it is definitely dissonance, cognitive dissonance, when you're watching the world struggle and then certain businesses maybe 2-3x. Calm.com, Robinhood, Steezy, the dance instruction, anything that involved a hobby or in front of a computer had great growth, Uber Eats, Postmates, et cetera. And of course, your company, Ritual.com, people taking stock of health. And also, are you mostly a DTC brand? I know you have a store, or do you have multiple stores? Explain what Ritual is and how you came up with the idea, and let's get right into it.
Yeah, we're 100% direct to consumer, and that was the vision since the beginning. I bought Ritual.com against a lot of advice from investors.
That's $1 million domain name right there. I mean, easily a 7-figure domain name. You probably got a better deal, I assume.
I actually kind of made money on it in some ways.
Wait, do explain.
Yeah, that's
I'm a sucker for a great domain name. Everybody knows that.
That's one of my favorite stories. It'll probably take up half this podcast. So
let's start. Let's do it. I love a good domain story. I have inside.com. I had 20.com, com.com.
I have nadles.com if you know anyone who wants it.
Which one do you have?
Nadles.
Oh, Nadles. Yeah. For prenatal vitamins.
Yeah.
Got it. Very good.
So if anyone wants that, I'll give it to them. Well,
there's Ritual Coffee. They must have wanted the domain name.
Yeah, there's a number of rituals in other categories.
Yeah.
I thought it was, and I'll give you a little bit of history on the company, but the vision was to go beyond vitamins and really reinvent the way that we interact with the products we use every single day. How do you elevate something from a routine to a habit to a ritual, which is why it was really important for me to buy ritual.com and not Ritual Vitamins and not be known as Ritual Vitamins from the beginning. So, I spent a very long time trying to get ritual.com.
Was it a domain owner or was it just an individual or another company?
Yeah, it was another company and an individual, a really interesting guy who was also an entrepreneur. And we got to know each other very regularly because I was very persistent about it. We had calls at least, probably 30 or so. I was starting to call him every other day, got to know about his family. And then in the process of getting to know him, because he refused to sell ritual.com to me for less than, I don't know, it was like $300,000 or $500,000 at the time. That was a third or a quarter of what we had raised. I found out that he actually wanted jolt.com for his businesses and had a really difficult time getting that. And getting the founder of that to sell that to him. So then I got to know the founder of jolt.com.
Oh boy. I love it. Ooh.
Yes. And I did a kind of equity deal, slight cash deal with the founder of jolt.com, who actually also went to Brown and had a background in the music industry as well. And so then I ended up doing this crazy process of like 3 contracts and doing a trade and getting ritual.com. And also just, ritual.com is a longer domain than jolt.com. So I definitely thought Jolt was worth more.
That is like a 3-team trade in the NBA. You're like, I really want to secure this player, but you need draft picks. And so we're going to just flip-flop all these players around, and that's how superstars get traded typically. But a great domain name. I remember
investors were saying, why are you wasting your time on this? Start building the product and the company. Like this isn't that as important. But I don't know. I felt, especially in the health space and in the vitamin category, buying a credible domain was just another indicator of trust and was really important. And I'm so glad that we ended up doing that.
It's absolutely worth it. I agree with your investors that you should not build your company because you can't get the domain name. But man, does it really help? We got thesyndicate.com for my angel syndicate, and it took me 3 or 4 years to get it. I got inside.com. And when you have a great domain name like that, it does elevate trust. When people see it in an advertisement and when people see it in a search result, correct? That was your thinking.
Yeah. And what I didn't realize was that the social handles and all of the social domains were even more important when you're building a direct-to-consumer brand and you're building it through social media. So then I got equally as obsessed getting @Ritual on Instagram and on Twitter and LinkedIn and all these things. So we have Ritual on all the channels that we need. But I didn't realize that was actually going to be even more fun and challenging, but it's definitely...
It's a very personal thing, right? Like you have to get to know the person who has it. You have to make your case. And people can be emotionally tied to those handles, correct?
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes they don't even respond. So you might need to hire a private investigator to,
really?
to follow around.
Now I know why I keep telling Jason Bateman he cannot have @Jason on Instagram or on Twitter, and Jason Bateman keeps reaching out to me, and I'm like, dude, I love you, I love Ozark, I love all of it, but Jason Bateman, you're not getting @Jason, period, on Instagram or on Twitter. And I know Jason Bateman's friends have been, I'm joking. I'm a fan of Jason Bateman's, but I wouldn't get, it is an interesting
Maybe you should get some royalties on his shows or movies for the.
Yeah, I was thinking that. And, I often get people mistake me and Jason Statham for obvious reasons, physique, et cetera. We both put in kind of the hours in the gym, and I'm not giving it to Statham as well. So what was the first product you put out at Ritual in terms of vitamins? Because I understand that you were not convinced that vitamins were necessary. And in fact, your mom, I believe I heard on another podcast that had you on, didn't believe, and you were raised to not believe in that you get all the nutrients you want from vegetables. When we get back from this quick message, I want you to take us on your journey from when you went from being a non-believer to a believer in supplements and vitamins. We get back on the Sweet and Syrups. If growing an e-commerce business is your focus, you need a platform that is focused on growth. That's where Klaviyo comes in. Klaviyo, if you're wondering the spelling. Klaviyo is the ultimate e-commerce marketing platform for online brands of all kinds and sizes. Whether you're just getting started or running a well-known brand, it gives you everything you need to send memorable branded emails, text messages, and more, so you can build strong relationships that keep your customers coming back. Whether you're just getting started or running a well-known brand, it gives you everything you need to send memorable branded emails, text messages, and more, so that you can build that strong relationship that keeps your customers coming back. With flexible automations, powerful insights, and super precise targeting, Klaviyo is the fastest way to turn great ideas into great customer experiences. That's why it's trusted by over 40,000 brands. Think about that for a second. Like Living Proof, Huckberry, and 8 Sleep, which we're investors in 8 Sleep. And so we're glad to see them using Klaviyo. If you want to learn more about how you can grow your brand with Klaviyo, visit klaviyo.com/twist to get started with a free trial today. They're going to give you that free trial because you listen to the pod. That's klaviyo.com/twist, klaviyo.com/twist. Start sending those memorable marketing messages that are targeted to your users. Okay, thanks again to Klaviyo for supporting independent media like This Week in Startups. Let's get back to this amazing episode. All right, Kat Schneider is with us. She is from Ritual. I'm assuming they have that Ritual on Twitter and Instagram, so you can go follow them, and they have ritual.com. You were not a believer in the supplement vitamin space, I heard on a podcast. True. And then how did you come to believe in it enough to want to build a company around it?
Yeah, so I grew up in a household. My mom is actually a macrobiotic practitioner. If there's something, at one point, my parents were really into Ayurveda. I've always been deeply passionate about health, nutrition, and kind of healing. And then, growing up, it was, if there was something wrong with me or anyone in our family, we would never take anything. We would, whether it was grinding up some garlic or, oregano oil or whatever the flavor of the day was, that's how we would deal with our, temporary ailments. So that's, vitamins and supplements were never part of the way that I grew up. And then for me, I got pregnant with my first daughter, Tali. Now have three daughters like you.
Same, yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
Girls are the greatest. Yeah. How old are yours?
So 2, 4, and I have a 3-month-old. So if you hear them in the background, I apologize.
No, I'm amazed that you're running a company and you have made 3 babies in the same period of time. Is that correct? You started the company 5-6 years ago, if I'm right.
Yeah, I started when I was pregnant with my first, and she's really the reason I started the company. So
explain, yeah.
I was pregnant with Tali. Even just before being pregnant, I started really kind of dabbling and trying to understand prenatal vitamins for my pregnancy. And I really could not find a brand that I really connected with. And I also wasn't sure why I needed prenatals. And so I went down the research rabbit hole and found out, hey, these are actually really important during your pregnancy. Most doctors would agree. There's a lot of science behind folate and neural tube development. This makes sense to me. And then when I started looking at brands in the space, as someone who's very health conscious, there was really nothing that I personally wanted to ingest every single day. There was a lot of pseudoscience. There were ingredients that I didn't want in or on my body.
Right.
And so I was kind of left with very little choice. And I was like, this must be interesting. I wonder if other women feel the same way. And started asking everyone I know, what brand of prenatals are you taking? What multivitamins are you taking? And literally no one could remember the brand that they've been taking for sometimes like 10 years because they'd had like 4 or 5 kids. And I was like, this is interesting. This is something most women are taking every day. And then multivitamins, most of the US is taking every single day. And yet there's very little kind of brand affinity in the space, and really nothing that kind of was at the intersection of science and transparency. So that's how I landed on, at first, the prenatal, but actually we never launched the prenatal in the beginning. We ended up launching a reinvented multi from day one. And I hired one of the leading scientists in the industry. We spent a year just researching diets, trying to understand what people were actually getting from their foods and what they were getting from what they should be getting, where the gaps were in their diets, and realize it wasn't the 20 to 40 nutrients in most multivitamins. It was actually a handful of things like vitamin D or magnesium, omega-3s. And so kind of a contrarian approach to the category we even trademarked less is more in the category. So really believe in fewer nutrients filling the gaps in one's diets. And then what we did, which is radically different, and what our brand has become known for, is really this idea of traceability. So
what does this mean?
All of our nutrients, you can go on our site, you can see where everything comes from in the world, why it's there. And we even share every supplier. So if you wanted to recreate our multis, you can go and do that. And then on top of that, we ran a clinical study with a major university on our product. So you can see that the nutrients are getting in. So, in the clinical study tab on our site, we really went deep on how the study was conducted and the results. And so really a radically different approach to the category. And we also are 100% direct to consumer. So that was something that when I started the company, especially, was kind of interesting. See on the site, if you go to, there's also an ingredients tab. You can click in on those, but then you can also click in on the ingredients tab in the menu section, and the clinical study side as well. So, yeah. And if you just click into any nutrient,
there it is. Omega-3s, very important. And so you started to figure out where to source these, right? Mm-hmm. I see you're using the vegan ones as opposed to the fish oil,
right? So it's omega-3 DHA coming from algal oil. We also list out our suppliers. So it's Algorithm coming from microalgae in British Columbia. Our D3 comes from wild harvested lichen from a company called VitaShine. And we literally just chose the best of the best ingredients from all over the world. And then also I'm vegan, so vegan forms were really important to me. And so we also looked at ingredients that mostly had their own human clinical studies behind them as well. So we left kind of like no expense. That was some... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, this is an important part, I think, the D2C moment. When I look at direct-to-consumer companies, if you're going to make something that already exists in the world, in order to build to build advertising around the product, there needs to be some benefit to the product or some innovation to the product. And the sourcing and the quality and the combination of what's important. These are all very nuanced discoveries you made during this year of discovery. And that made for a product that didn't previously exist. And you could have a value proposition, because when you're thinking about what's going to be in the ad, what's going to be on the website, there needs to be some bullet points or value proposition that people understand and believe, and that hopefully is true. That's a big part of this, yes.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think you can create anything now with just beautiful branding and sell it direct to consumer and expect a company to scale. You really have to be creating, I think, a radically different product than anything else that exists. I mean, for us, even the encapsulation is just different than anything that was used before.
What does that mean, encapsulation? You mean how it comes into a capsule form, or is it something more specific?
Yeah, at its simplest form, it's how it comes in the ingredients are encapsulated. So we have beadlets in oil in a delayed release capsule that bypasses the stomach and gets released in the small intestine. So even that part for us is thought out and was really different in this multivitamin space that we carved out, because generally people would take, a separate omega-3 pill, another magnesium pill, a multivitamin, a higher dosage of vitamin D, and they would be taking, 4 or 5 capsules. And as someone who didn't I was never a vitamin taker myself. I didn't really want to be taking a lot of pills. I didn't want to feel like I was sick. So we figured out kind of a way to encapsulate all these nutrients into capsules. And then also just people say that there's better tolerability because we use gentler forms of iron for women, and also the nutrients bypass the stomach. So
that's better for absorption, I would assume, and that is the key issue. A lot of people take a bunch of supplements, but they never get into their body. I mean, I listen to like Tim Ferriss and Kevin Rose like geek out on this on their podcasts. Like that's a big thing, the absorption and actually getting this into it. How did you get investor money before you had a product, or did you just do this all this research on your own because I remember you were working for Troy Carter, correct? My pal, the investor in the Lady Gaga's former manager and Adam Records. Is it Adam Records? Was that the name of it?
Adam Factory.
Adam Factory. Sorry, it took me a second. I have so many names of companies. But yeah, he was running Adam Factory. He was managing Gaga when I met him, and he was investing in Uber and a couple other companies. That's how we became friendly. But you worked with him. So did you raise money and then go on this journey of discovery and figuring these things out? Or did you first just figure this stuff out and then go to investors and say, hey, look, I have this folder with a bunch of crazy ideas in it. Give me money.
A little bit of both. Troy was an awesome mentor and he's an entrepreneur himself. So he was very supportive of me starting something and was very encouraging, like he had been with a lot of the companies that we invested in. And he even invested in Ritual, and I couldn't have asked for a better kind of mentor and partner and boss really in the beginning. So I actually left Adam Factory when I was 4 months pregnant because I started raising money from investors. For the idea that we created, because of the level of investment and research that it took and the team that I needed on the scientific side, I couldn't have actually started the company without raising the money that we did.
You needed like $1 million just to get to the starting gate, $2 million, something like that.
Yeah. And honestly, we didn't even launch with the first round of funding. And so I raised a small, seed round, and then I raised another seed round that was led by Forerunner and Kirsten Green, who joined our board, followed by a Series A from Brian Singerman at Founders Fund.
Brian's awesome. Hey, when we get back from this quick break, I want to hear about your stories of going and raising money as a pregnant woman and what the reaction you got from certain venture capitalists who shall remain nameless when we get back on This Week in Startups. Oh my God, everything has been go, 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 and it is always on culture and hustle culture, and it's been that way for a while. Most of us are expected to be crushing it 24/7, but sometimes you need a moment to turn it all off and hit that reset button, and that's when you reach for that Coors Light. Ice cold Coors Brewing Company in Golden, Colorado. They were made to chill. And after I finish my video calls with founders and my team and all these messages. I just turn off my virtual background and I crack open that crisp Coors Light. You can hear that cracking open right now. Oh, yes. And Coors Light wants to give you a way to take a break from the new reality of endless video chats in 2020. So say goodbye to your virtual backgrounds and say hello to beautiful travel destinations in the real world. Yes, that's right. 5 lucky winners will get trips to the beautiful destinations they've been dreaming about going to for months. To enter for a chance to win, visit CoorsLight.com/outside during September and upload a screenshot of yourself in your ideal virtual background. That's right, CoorsLight.com/outside. You upload a picture of yourself with the ideal virtual background, and the prize package is valid through June 2022. So winners can plan the trip for whenever they feel comfortable. You don't rush here. I've been dreaming about going back to Tokyo, and I am going to submit that of me having ramen, me having that katsuya. Oh, I love it all. Can't wait to go back to Tokyo. Again, for a chance to win a trip to the beautiful destination of your choice, go to CoorsLight.com/outside. Now remember, you got to celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. No purchases necessary. Sweepstakes begins on 8/27/20 and ends on 10/1/20. Open only to legal residents of the 50 USDC, 21 years of age and up. Travel must be to a destination indicated in the entry and must be completed by 6/30/2022. Official rules, including how to enter, prize details, and restrictions, visit CoorsLight.com/outside. Void where prohibited. Message and data rates may apply. All right, Kat Schneider from Ritual.com is here. She makes vitamins and she does it really well. And she went out to raise money when she was pregnant. And I've heard from a number of female founders who we've invested in. That's always an interesting experience. Tell me, how did that go for you?
I feel like I'm always pregnant raising money now, but hopefully it's my last
well, you had 3 kids over a 6-year span, and it was the same 5, span or the same 6 years that you started a company. So no degree of difficulty there, obviously.
No,
but in all seriousness,
become the norm.
It's become the norm, yeah. But tell, I couldn't do it. I don't think. But you did it. I mean, it's super impressive. But what did the VCs? What was their reaction to you?
So it was interesting because I came from the VC space. I came from investing in companies, and I knew a lot of VCs early on. And It's interesting that a lot of the VCs that actually went to kind of passed because they didn't want to touch the vitamin space. And then there were VCs, one in particular that I had an investor who I knew for a long time tell me, and I think in a more friendly way, like, you can't start a company and have a family at the same time. Like, trust me.
Wow.
I think,
you would never say that to a guy. You would send them a onesie with the VC's logo on it. Like, you would never say to a guy, like, you're having a baby. I mean, there is some truth that it is challenging to have kids while being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, he was right. It was challenging.
He was challenging, but that's...
but I also don't... Yeah, for me, it was fuel. It was really empowering because I wanted to prove him wrong. Yeah. But I also would have never started the company, had I not had that experience of being pregnant. And now, as we're thinking of other products as well, being a mom of 3 over the last 5 years, it's really impacted how I think about kind of this family context and what we should launch next and what, families and moms want. So it's actually been incredibly important for our business because I'm building this company at the end of the day for myself as well.
Yeah, I mean, understanding your customer is at the core of product innovation, marketing, customer service, all of these things. If you don't understand if you don't understand your customer or have an ideal customer profile, how can you ever hope to build them a product? You are the ideal customer profile. You're a woman who has multiple kids, which means multiple vitamin journeys, right? I mean, you have the prenatal, and then kids take vitamins. I was lucky enough to be an investor in a company called Smarty Pants. My friend Gordon Gould, who's just been a friend of mine from New York, was like, I'm starting this thing. I was like, yeah, put it, here's $50K or whatever. And then this company became giant. It's like unbelievable how big it's become now. And I think they started maybe 5 years before you. You're in kids vitamins now too, I take it, yeah?
We will be.
You will be, yeah. I knew that was coming. Don't say anything bad about Smarty Pads, but they've done pretty well. It's a pretty good category, yeah?
Yeah, I think that, and I know, and this is kind of the reason we're going into family is just once you have a family, you start caring about the health of your kids and your partner more than you even care about yourself. And so that's a really interesting kind of transition that we're seeing for a lot of our customers. And I don't remember if I mentioned this, but when we launched the prenatal, we only launched that about 2 years ago. It's actually become one of the top selling prenatals in the US. We sold out of it about a month ago, and we had over 20,000 people on the wait list already.
Wow.
And that's just only increasing. It's a prenatal. It's not like a eye cream or something.
Right.
So
you got to get through that wait list pretty quick because there is a ticking clock. I mean, if people are signing up for it, you have to get them the vitamins quickly. Yeah,
for sure. It's kind of become a cult product, and can't wait for it to come back. It's coming back actually next week.
This is the next piece of the puzzle you had to figure out, correct? Is supply chain and like inventory. If you're sourcing and you're doing this very a deliberate sourcing, I guess would be the way to say it. And then you have to bring all this disparate products and sourcing from around the world to some location to put it all together. You've increased the level of difficulty because I'm sure the other people making vitamins are just like, yeah, whatever, let's just check 20 boxes and get it in GNC. You have to get these things to some location. How does supply chain even work? Have you figured that out yet?
Yeah, we've been really lucky. I mean, the prenatal is the only product that's been really sold out before. And part of that is we kind of underestimated the demand that would have happened this year. It just went crazy. So it's becoming really interesting. But as far as supply chain goes, we work with an incredible manufacturer that was just sold in the last couple of years for over $5 billion. They're really pharmaceutical background, and it is a complicated supply chain. But we actually work with suppliers that most of them have their own human clinical study. A lot of them are branded ingredients, and it's not just like they're harvesting some kind of wildflowers in their yard.
They're professional at what they're doing. You're not the first person to come and get their DHA or vitamin D from them. You're picking the top suppliers. So your vitamins cost what, 2 to 3 times as much to manufacture than like the cheap ones I would buy at some nutritional store that shall remain nameless?
I mean, you can buy a generic multi for, like $10 or even less sometimes. Our multivitamin for adults 18 plus, for women 18 plus and men's 18 plus is $30 a month. That being said, we include ingredients like omega-3 DHA in our products and different dosages. So it's not really a apples to apples comparison. Like if you were to buy omega-3s on their own, they would cost you that, if not more, especially from algae. So in a lot of ways, if you were to cobble together our products, it is the traditional DTC model in the sense that bypassing the middleman, et cetera, people are getting a really great value for what they're buying.
I mean, that is ultimately the promise of D2C is, hey, if we take out this, middleman who's taking some percentage, we can actually invest more in the product and provide it cheaper and save money on this retail channel that, what exactly is the point of going to a store and browsing for something like, I don't know who the person is who goes to a store and browses for vitamins. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, it's a considered purchase. You should be making it by reading studies or watching videos or interviews. When we get back from this final break, I want to know what channels have broken out for you, and then how do you look at growth now that you've got a product that you have demand for? How do you think about growth now in year 5 of a company like this when we get back on This Week in Startup? LinkedIn is going to give you $100 in advertising credit toward your first LinkedIn advertising campaign. Over 78% of B2B marketers rate LinkedIn as the most effective social media platform for reaching their objectives. You know this. You're on the platform. You know how well LinkedIn works. Well, why do they think this? Because there are over 62 million decision makers on LinkedIn, and those decision makers mean business. They want to get business done. Those are your customers. Imagine you're about to launch a marketing campaign. You tested it well, the team's happy, everything is going according to your plan, except for that one thought in the back of your head. How do I ensure people I want to target will be in the mindset to receive my message, right? You have to be open to that marketing message that you're sharing with them. Well, the answer is LinkedIn. When you market on LinkedIn, your message reaches people who are ready to do business. They're at work, they're working, they're on LinkedIn because they're getting stuff done. This means your campaign will work as hard as it can as soon as you launch it. LinkedIn can help you to reach your short and long-term business goals with tools for brand building and lead generation. So if you just want people to know the name of your company and to think highly of it, that's one brand building exercise. Other times, listen, you want to get them into the top of the funnel, you want to get that lead generation going, LinkedIn can do both. And you can target a professional audience down to their job titles, company name, or location. And you can customize your campaign based on the action you want your customer to take, whether that's a click or filling out a form or just watching a video. Any of those things are possible with LinkedIn marketing. Do business where business gets done and get $100 in advertising credit. I kid you not. You have to visit linkedin.com/thisweekinstartups. That's right. You have to type in all those letters. linkedin.com/thisweekinstartups for the Hyundai. Terms and conditions, of course, apply because they're giving you $100 at linkedin.com/thisweekinstartups. Okay, let's get back to this amazing episode. All right, Kat Schneider is with us from ritual.com, and she makes vitamins, and she does it really well. And part of that in year 5 is growth and marketing channels. Facebook is the obvious, and Instagram are the obvious ones. But how do you assess each of these channels, and then how do you get an advantage on them? Because it does seem like people have mastered Instagram and Facebook. And does that mean there's not an opportunity there anymore? What are the channels, and then how do you grow a business in year 5 like this?
Yeah, so our channels are pretty diverse. I think when we started, and it's all about timing. I think when we started, Instagram was cost per acquisition was incredibly low. It definitely helped build our brand, and then more recently, podcast advertising have been huge for us, as well as influencer. Word of mouth has definitely increased, especially this past year, by a lot. I would say we're testing out TV right now as well. And the other channel that's been really interesting for us that we're really excited to grow is the doctor channel.
Fascinating.
That has been a really interesting channel that we're starting to track. Our product is obviously direct to consumer, but subscription only. So you can't just go and buy it, once. You can cancel anytime and we'll give you your money back. There's free shipping. But the subscription component is actually a really big part of the brand and part of turning something into a ritual, and also why we've invested really heavily into technology. We have full stack engineering team. We are not using, Shopify or any of the plugins. We've really kind of just scratched the surface of what the consumer experience should be like for something you take daily, and how much control a consumer should have over kind of the delivery of that product and kind of the interaction with it through technology. So
SMS seems to work really well for people in this space now, and like keeping prescriptions and consultations. Every pitch I see has we just do it through SMS. It's like boom, straight shot. Email works too, obviously, but this like SMS of log into the app with your phone number and get your prescription or pause your subscription. Obviously, Dollar Shave Club started that. You can pause your subscription. That actually seems to be super powerful, and just taking the friction out and getting direct to your customer is the goal. Yeah.
Yeah, with us, you can snooze or rush your subscription anytime. There's a really beautiful front end experience. So, that's kind of the awesome part about having really good UI UX in-house and great engineers. And now we just launched men's multivitamins about a month ago, and And we also launched bundling, so you can control multiple subscriptions from one household. Whether it's 2 women's products or 2 men's products or a men's and women's product, just even being able to control both and pause and skip different ones at different times is something we're really excited about. And I think the big picture for me and for our team is like, a lot of people buy their household items on Amazon and have this. It's pretty easy, right? Obviously,
yeah,
one click of a button.
Pretty friction free. And I was about to bring up the Amazon question, because how do you even think about them as a channel? Do you provide your stuff on Amazon, or is that like a bad idea, or do you provide like some of it there? How do you think about Amazon?
No, we're entirely direct. So the way I think about Amazon is that I want us to become better than Amazon on the kind of knowledge around daily use and daily behavior of products. So when we think about products, we're thinking about products that people use every single day that are essential. And how do we become really on the forefront of even that experience, that control over those things that should be daily and that daily behavior? Because Amazon right now, it's like subscribe and save, or but it's not that same level of experience that you get even with us. But I'm hoping we can even get better.
Are you thinking about like apps and stuff like that? I know this. What's the app called? Nom or something like that? That podcast advertised like change your behavior habits to lose weight, and behavioral science. And there's a lot of like apps for that kind of stuff. Are you thinking of getting into sort of that space?
Yeah, we've always been thinking about it. We have an Apple Watch app. I wish it had more usage because it's pretty great and seamless.
What does it do? It just reminds you to take your vitamins, or?
Yeah, you can see your streak, how many days in a row. It's like you can see who around you is also keeping the streak, and has a leaderboard. It's really beautifully designed. It's not the be all end all of where I kind of see us going from a technology perspective, but in the past, the idea of an iPhone app has just felt like almost more friction. People are already bad about taking their vitamins. In fact, 2/3 of our customers had never taken a vitamin or never consistently had a habit prior to joining Rituals. So we're really kind of trying to change daily behavior. An app on the phone has always felt like friction to me. It's like, you're already having a hard time. Now you're going to take out your phone.
Yeah, no, it is definitely. I wish that my Fitbit would just send me a reminder at some point during the day over SMS, like, hey, by the way, you're 64% on your steps, or whatever it is, or by the way, you're sleep deprived. You should just put it in my SMS for me, or my Peloton doing that, or my Tonal doing that. I've been trying to figure out a way to kind of remind myself of that stuff, but this creating habits, creating rituals is a big, there's been a bunch of really like the power of habit and all this stuff. Like, it's like a big topic for people. And it does
that book actually influenced me a lot in the beginning.
The Power of Habit, yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting because, we created this product, and I was reading the book, and the cue or the reward, it's like, you don't, with a multivitamin, you don't really get a reward, instant reward.
No, I hate taking vitamins. Like, I hate swallowing vitamins. I do like the gummy ones, though. I like the sweet ones because it tastes like candy.
Yeah, so ours smell like fresh peppermint, and so that was kind of the reward in some sense, and the prenatals smell like and taste like fresh citrus. So it was kind of a new approach to taking capsules.
I've never heard about that. That's a great idea. Like maybe you feel like some. It's like it is like the. It's not the cue, it's the reward, but there's no other reward for it. But a streak is definitely a reward. Like, I actually went on vacation for 10 days, and I came back and I was so upset at myself after going to the beach because I had a 7-week Peloton treadmill streak going, and I didn't hit my streak. And I was like, oh, this doesn't matter. I was walking like 5 miles a day anyway on the beach. But for some reason, my mental, I was angry at myself for breaking my streak. It was very strange. It's like when you ever have your Fitbit or your watch die when you're on a hike and you don't get counts for the steps and you feel bad, and you're like, but you actually did the hike. You shouldn't feel bad. You're like, but it's not recorded.
I used to use the app Moves on my phone, and
yes.
I loved how passive it was, and And I think a lot of the other kind of fitness apps things in general are just kind of, you have to be a lot more proactive about it. And I just don't feel like that works with health or habit formation. It's like you need kind of that instant gratification.
Tell me about men versus women, because you have these two different products, and obviously you're the ideal customer profile for being a mom or prenatal, but perhaps you're not the ideal customer profile for men. Is there some difference between how men use supplements and women, goals? What did you learn in that space?
Yeah, we did a lot of research. We have a market research team in-house. We spoke to a lot of men. Obviously, we have a lot of men on the team. So when we surveyed men about what they think it takes to achieve good health, men ranked exercise twice as important as a balanced diet, which is very different than women. And obviously exercise is important, but it's really just part of the story. And when you look at research and you kind of read what the CDC has written, fewer men than women actually meet their minimum daily intake of recommendations for fruits and vegetables. And so men are not getting enough of some key micronutrients. And that was really interesting. And we kind of had this campaign, or as part of our messaging, is kind of just like level up or get on her level.
I like it.
So, we've been serving women for a long time, but now it's important for us to serve the whole family and support their nutrition. Another thing that we found was 70% of our customers lived with a male in the household. So as part of our marketing, we are actually not only targeting him, but we're actually targeting her for him as well.
That makes total sense because, as you're saying, you're triggering the competitive thing, like, hey, get on her level, like level up, like that's a guy thing, right? But you are also kind of understanding that in this male-female dynamic, and we're getting into dangerous territory talking about gender here, but based on studies and your experience, the female might actually be thinking about the male's health more than the male is thinking about it and make that decision for them in some cases.
Yeah, in some relationships, that's what happens. And, kind of what we're finding is that men and women are almost equally like bundling for their households, which is kind of interesting. And I think pretty good for the gender conversation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's so many different combinations, but it definitely is helpful when you have a group around you. The time I had my best weight loss and my best like physical activity was when I was in a Fitbit competition for steps with my friends, and they had the challenge button in there, and we could challenge each other, and we all went on the journey together. And then I was on a thread with my friends who were all trying to lose 10 pounds, and we were sending screenshots of zero fasting, shout out Zero Fasting, Cam Rose, to each other, and we would send each other, and I was like, when are we going to have competition? They're launching competition, or not competition, but challenges, I guess. So that's where I think like the family reminder, getting that push notification of like, hey, did the family take their vitamins? Because the first thing I do every morning or when I'm getting my coffee is I have the Smarty Pants vitamins there, and I get 2 of them for each of my daughters. After they have their breakfast, I give them their like 2 little gummy vitamins, and they're like, it's a little reward for eating their, breakfast or whatever. And it's quite sweet.
And I give my kids the ritual ones, although they're not released yet, but we'll have to send you some.
Secret ones. So are you making gummies? And what's the deal with gummies? Like, why are adult vitamins not gummies? Why are there only gummies for kids? Because it seems to me that compliance would go up with gummies.
There's plenty of gummy vitamins for kids. I mean, when we look at gummies,
for adults, so I'm talking about,
Yeah, for adults, there's gummy vitamins for adults as well. I mean, for us, when we think about each product, is we're actively looking at what is the best delivery mechanism for that product in particular. And as I mentioned, our products have this delayed release component that bypasses the stomach, gets released in the small intestine. Also, the micronutrients are in their original form. So the fat soluble are in their original form. The water soluble are separated as well. So the beadlets and then the oil phases. And we also ran a clinical study on the women's product to show how ingredients, get into the body. And we have more of a scientific approach, I would say. For kids, I think teens can easily take capsules, and that's probably the best delivery mechanism for them. For kids, you're not going to get, I'm not going to get my kids to take a capsule, although that would be the better delivery format. We are looking at edible forms, which stay tuned. We're going to be releasing our kids' product very soon. But even there, gummies have so much sugar in them. And I personally do not want to give my kids sugar at any time of the day that's extra.
Well, I was thinking like stevia, whatever that is. What's the,
stevia.
Like stevia, the natural one that I use in my coffee, which, depending on the brand you get, it can either taste grainy or not. I love the Zevia soda. I don't know if you ever tried that one. Mm-hmm. But I don't give that to my kids. I make daddy soda, which is just carbonated water with a splash of juice. And they like,
delicious.
Yeah, just daddy soda. They're just like, I want daddy soda or kombucha. They're crazy about kombucha. They just say bucha, 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 which is
hopefully that doesn't have any alcohol in there.
Yeah, that's been a bit of a thing. We were actually looking at that, and we're like, let's make sure we take this from the right bottle because some of them have a little bit of alcohol. You have to.
Yeah, I remember they were taken out of Whole Foods for a while.
I had to sign. At some point, the guy's like, I need to see your driver's license, sir. And I was like, I'm sorry, Whole Foods delivery. He's like,
I'm getting this for my kid. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm like, this is my child's alcohol. It's not for me. I'm not drinking this kombucha. But kombucha has such a de minimis amount of alcohol in it. I can't imagine it's like.
I'm such a lightweight. I remember drinking kombucha when I was doing investment banking during the day, and I felt my legs like tingle.
Really?
It's like, I can't drink this. It's too much alcohol in here.
Yeah, I think in the investment banking community, you might have been the lowest on the substance abuse run with kombucha.
I only take omega-3s.
Based on what I saw on The Wolf of Wall Street, I have a feeling your omega-3s and your kombucha
That's probably why I didn't do so well
not competitive with the Quaaludes and everything else going on. So when you went to raise money, I'm curious, having been in the investment space, was that an asset or was it a liability?
It was a little bit of both. It's interesting having been on kind of both sides of the table now. I would look at evaluating startups a lot differently. Having never been really a founder when I was investing, I wish I'd had this experience to now invest. I would totally be at least a nicer person.
I was about to ask you why, but it's because of the suffering and the pain of being an entrepreneur. Just exactly how hard it is. Describe it. Yeah. Describe your life as an investor versus the life of being the founder and the just giant difference in terms of stress.
Yeah. I mean, you can just notice it when you go into a investor meeting when a company's pitching. It's like the investor has their arms back and they're like laying back in the chair, and the founder is just like dripping sweat. Yeah. And just like, I think it's just a different dynamic. And I would have just been a lot more gentler to founders, just amazed at what it takes to even just put yourself out there and start a company and be incredibly vulnerable. I think you're not always making the right moves, but you're really putting yourself out there every single day. And luckily, I've had incredible investors since the beginning, and this business has had really incredible investors since the beginning. So all three of our board members, besides our COO, were investors since our seed round.
Oh wow!
So Lisa Wu, who led our Series B, I met. I was a finalist at TechCrunch Disrupt on stage, and she reached out right after that, invested in the seed, and then ended up leading our B. Brian Singerman, I've known for,
he's awesome.
Yeah, he's amazing. I've known him he was the first check in the business, and he, had no background in prenatal vitamins, and at the time it was not a great idea. I'll tell you that. It was not what Ritual is today. I don't even want to get into how I positioned it.
Why was it such a bad idea? How'd you position it? We got to hear the story now. Oh yeah.
It's when I bought Nadles.com, and which was a terrible name for a company.
Yeah.
I mean,
how do you spell it? Yeah.
Natals.
No, I'm just saying, people don't even, nobody's ever used the word Nadles. Like,
it's not, yeah. And I had someone say during a pitch meeting, like, this can't really scale. So I was like, okay, cool. Noted.
Wait, babies can't scale? The continuation of the species? Birthing, it's not going to continue? And this is the end?
Yeah, so actually a lot of because the original idea was around prenatal, is because that's what the stage of life that I was in.
Right.
People were like, a lot of investors were saying, hey, you can't sell a prenatal online. Like, people are going to find out about this through their doctors. There's no way you're going to build trust with consumers to sell them something during this phase of life. And I was like, yes, we will.
Well, I mean, the challenge is the opportunity, right? Like, so that is a valid challenge. But as you just discovered, like, once you find a solution of that challenge, you obviously figured something out with doctors, which I was going to ask you, like, how do you even get to doctors? Do you like have a sales team that's going out and meeting with them, or just send them samples? Do you send them an email?
All of it.
All of it. Just full court press, like getting the product in front of them and saying, hey, here's what we do. Here's the vision.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's a little bit harder with COVID and a lot of offices being closed, or just kind of more, not open to visits as much. A lot of offices are still open, but maybe in the beginning. But yeah, a lot of it involves having sales reps, taking calls, sending samples, getting to know offices and practices, and it's been a really interesting, I think, point for the future for our business, especially as we get into other products like kids. But going back to your, I guess, investor question.
Investors versus being a founder,
yeah. So I've just felt very lucky with the investors that we've had. So Kirsten Green led our seed round. She's on our board. Brian Singerman's on our board, and Lisa Wu. And they have all three just been really supportive of the vision, and have really kind of given our team the freedoms to drive that vision, and all have provided really differentiated viewpoints on everything from, with Lisa providing with Kirsten providing really a broad look on retail and direct to consumer, having so much experience there, to Brian being my point person on strategy and just big picture and hiring, to Lisa, who has a very analytical mindset, and kind of have this like really well crafted board that I really wouldn't have had I not kind of seen the ins and outs of startups as an investor before. I think I kind of chose our investors just as much as they chose us. And I think that's something I'm constantly, when I mentor other founders and other women, it's kind of like you're picking your investors too. It's not like this date that you're on and you're trying to impress the person. They need to impress you as well. And it's a balanced relationship, and it has to be for the future to kind of succeed.
Yeah, you have to be intentional about it, and it's a luxury. I mean, to be able to pick them. Not everybody has that luxury early on. They just take whatever money they can get. But you should be more intentional about it. Make sure you have that investor. I always like the investor product and the investor founder fit. So the investor loves the founder. If the investor loves the product, that always goes a long way in terms of like when they come to the board meeting, they're excited about it because they use the product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that I'm excited that we have men's now.
Yeah, now
because there's definitely a lot more male investors than women and female investors, and that was always a challenge. Like you said in our break, like just having countless times when raising money, having male investors say, "Hold on, let me call my wife," or I'll talk to my daughter about what she thinks about this. And
yeah, hold on, little lady. Let me find. I know a woman. I'm married to one. Just wait 1 second. Let me find a woman who can tell. It's like, you have a woman in the room who's a CEO. She can tell you too.
I can show you the market research, but yeah, it's interesting. And I've had people call this my project in the beginning too.
Oh yeah. Oh, you're a little project. Oh, that's so nice.
This is not my project. We've sold millions of bottles already. So sorry.
Yeah, that is. I was always flabbergasted like 10 years ago when I started being on boards of companies or just started investing in companies. And, this one investor would like show up 15 minutes late and he'd be like, yeah, I was talking to my wife about the product. And I was just like, you're obscenely wealthy. And I'm not sure that your family's demographic living in Italy and Aspen for, 4 months a year and Los Angeles for 4 months a year is representative of this company's?
That's funny. That's like Postmates. When I was looking and I was talking to the founder early on, and at the time I was in the music industry, and all the managers and agents, everyone was using Postmates, but I couldn't even afford it. It was so expensive. Like, there's no way this is going to become people are just investing in this because they're using it themselves. And I was totally wrong.
Well, I was literally, when Postmates first came, anyway, I got a little sordid history with Postmates. But because the founder was going to let me invest, I signed the papers, and then the founder was like, "Oh yeah, I couldn't fit you into the round." I was like, "But you secured me like $100,000," and I signed the paperwork and sent it to you. He was like, "Yeah, I'll make it up to you at some point," and you never did. But anyway, putting that aside, we wound up getting bought by Uber, so I think I wound up winning in the end, and it's all good. But I was sitting, and I'll just say, an NBA player who was addicted to Postmates. I was talking to him, and I was like, I can't use Postmates. It's so crazy expensive. Like,
yeah.
Do you know how much this costs? He's like, no, it's like super cheap. I was like, no, it's not. It's like, in the early days of Postmates, I think it was like $25 to have something delivered. And I was like, you're having like 2 cheeseburgers delivered and from In-N-Out and fries, and like, that's like $12 and it's like $25. He's like, no. And he looks, he goes, oh my God, you're right, Jay Gal.
Yeah.
I just ordered an In-N-Out burger that was like the holy grail. In-N-Out burger would not let anybody put them in the apps. And Postmates' big hack was, they would put it on the Postmates card and they would just go in and buy it for you. And
we're live on Postmates today.
You are? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great. And what do you think the future of retail is? I know you had a showroom, right? Or just one, right? Like for just showcasing the product, I guess?
Yeah,
What do you think the future of all this is?
It's interesting. I think it's gone in waves. So I remember, talking to potentially new investors around the time of Casper's IPO, and everyone was just really negative on direct-to-consumer brands. I think I read a dozen articles about why DTC was just over pre-COVID. And then everyone's kind of behaviors shifted to online even more so over the last 6 months. But pre that period, we are and really interested in retail as a channel for us. I think we'll always be mostly direct to consumer, but when we tested out this pop-up on Melrose, we have a showroom for about a month. We saw that people were buying subscriptions.
That's fascinating. So when you get that purchase in a store, unlike GNC or whatever, they get a one-time purchase. You have a lifetime value purchase. So your economics on the store are ridiculous. And because you're only selling your brand, you don't need to have a giant store with, 50,000 SKUs complicating things, or 5,000, whatever. I don't know what these stores hold. Hundreds, if not thousands of SKUs. You just need to have like your 10 SKUs. You can have a tiny 800 square foot store.
Right, exactly. We don't need a large footprint. At the time, we only had one. We were only selling one product out of the store. And it was working. And it was really interesting to see people come in and be like, hey, I saw you guys online on Instagram or Google or a podcast, but I'd really wanted to see the product in person. And then, they'd smell the bottle. It smells like fresh peppermint. The capsules are beautiful in person. And it was a very easy sell to just tell people about the ingredients and how the product was made and our story, and just having that human interaction really kind of sealed the deal. So retail is something that we're really excited about for the future, especially for some of our upcoming products as well that are very interesting in person. But
really?
Yes.
Wow. Very interesting in
TBD.
person. What could that be? Well, what other rituals do people have? Well, they use soaps and lotions. I mean, are you thinking of expanding into other like adjacencies like that? Because I use shampoo and soap and conditioner every day. That would be like moisturizer. You think that's another like expansion for you?
Yeah, we're constantly serving our customers, and my vision was always to go beyond vitamins since the beginning. I think that there's definitely a white space in other categories where that kind of intersection of science and transparency just doesn't really exist. It's like either you find products that are really clean, it's not a regulated term, or they have ingredients that have science behind them and they work. And so but that intersection of something being effective and also good for you is, I think, still lacking in so many areas. So many areas. So I really hope that our brand can have a footprint beyond nutrition.
That's such a smart idea. I always loved this company, Brandless, that Tina Sharkey was doing, and that SoftBank, I think they shut it down. It didn't work out, but I thought this was such a great idea. If I could just outsource to somebody trust in the food I ordered for my family, which in a way, when you use Whole Foods or Good Eggs, you're doing, because they're picking the best purveyors. They don't have cornstarch. They don't have animal cruelty. They have some level of, but I would just like to have like some ultra level of, like you do, for my breakfast cereal and just everything. Just like fill the pantry and I don't have to think about it. And I don't want to see any brands. I just want to have like the Brandless idea was so brilliant. What did you think of that brand when you saw it?
Yeah, I thought it was really, really great. It's unfortunate. I think it doesn't exist anymore, right?
Yeah, I think they've raised when you raise too much money like that, you eyes off the prize, right? I mean,
yeah, I think that's an interesting topic. It's like, it's nice to not have a lot of money in some ways. It makes people more creative and I think teams work harder. And, we've seen that with our company as well. So yeah, but Brandless was a great idea. And I love that idea. I think for me, though, the level of trust that I was looking for maybe just wasn't necessarily there with that brand. I think the price point was spot on and very accessible, and the products were like just good enough.
Yeah, they weren't like the ultra like you're doing. You're doing ultra clean. Like you're sourcing the best in every single category.
Right. Which
the subscription really helps you because your lifetime value is much higher and predictable.
Right. So it's a very different idea. I mean, I don't know, what products did you buy from them? I'm curious.
I bought everything from like crackers to cereal to like they had cookies and, just every... I literally just after they were on the podcast, I just picked like 20. They only had like maybe 100 SKUs at that time. So like they had like their version of goldfish, Pepperidge Farm goldfish or whatever. And I just ordered everything just to try it. And I would say all of it was like as good as those brands. Like you couldn't tell the difference. But I didn't, when I looked at the ingredients, it looked, like you were shopping at Whole Foods. Like you weren't finding artificial color, but it wasn't next level. Like you were on the next level tip with what you were doing.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of the struggle. It's like, I can definitely make a cheaper product. Like I can make a $10 product, but would it be radically different than everything else out there? Probably not as much. Definitely not as much. And so that's, I think, the struggle that we face every day is, even as we're developing new products, I'm like, oh, I really want that organic blank, blank, blank.
Yeah. But
and I know will not, like I have to put that in there. And I'm like, oh, but that alone is just $6.
You're in Los Angeles. And when I lived in Los Angeles, my wife comes home with pressed usury. And I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. This stuff is delicious. We should get this all the time. And then like I see the receipt, and I don't know if you remember when Press started in Brentwood or wherever it started, but I think they were charging like $12 per juice. And I was like, wait a second, this can't be right. It's $12 for the 6 bottles, right? And she's like, no, it's $12 for each of the 6. I was like,
yeah, that my husband makes fun of me for that. There's a store in LA called Air One where I get a $20 smoothie.
I literally was in Malibu when I was staying at the beach, when I started taking my 10-day vacation, and I ordered from Erewhon, and they had like the shots, little, shots you can get of
like $15 or something.
Yeah, it was insane. And I was like, but then when you think about it, here's how I think about health and these things. And my wife, it's interesting. We mentioned gender dynamics in your discovery that men think working out is what it's about. Literally, my wife was last night sending me links about my diet while I'm on the Peloton. I'm like, I just got to work out more and do the tonal.
I have to send you some ritual after this.
I'm going to order it myself. Don't worry about it. I would never take any freebies. I always buy stuff. But anyway, it was a very like interesting dynamic where and I was just thinking, like, people spend $15 at a bar on, a cocktail and they don't think anything of it. But if you were to order a $15, gallon of smoothie or, quart of it or something, people are like, oh my God. Like, well, we actually make ginger at home. So this is one of my favorite things to do. I'm addicted to ginger ale. And my wife will buy ginger, like a lot of it. And we have one of those juice pressing devices that's not the centrifugal. It's more the
press. So is it like the Norman Walker?
Yeah, something like that. It's absurdly expensive and slow and tedious, and
hard to clean,
absurd to clean. But it smashes it. It doesn't rip it apart. And then we just keep that ginger, and then I pour a little bit of that, and then I put my stevia, and I mix it with club soda, and then all of a sudden I've got ginger ale. That's like, it tastes so good. The ginger is so strong.
Fresh ginger. There's nothing better.
It's literally like you get hit with wasabi. Like the first time I did it, I poured so much in, I was like eyes bleeding. What's going on when I was getting my hair done? Which I put my new haircut on Instagram. People went crazy. I realize now the power of Instagram is just getting your haircut and having the hairdresser take pictures. She was telling me all the celebrities are taking, the male celebrities, and Natalia has all the top, the hairstylist who's a friend of a friend, one of my wife's friends, and she did the hair for me, and she does like everybody, like every famous celebrity guy in the Marvel movie she does. She was saying all these guys are taking male supplements to make your hair thicker, and that's a whole new category of science, that it can't grow your hair back, but it can make your hair thicker. Is that real? And do you have a product in that category? Because whoever figures that out, obviously, that's going to be the next $1 trillion company.
Yeah, I mean, there's some companies doing that for sure. I mean, our business is all around essentiality, and so I think we get asked about beauty supplements all the time, and there's a number of claims we can make, very few claims actually, just kidding, about our product and as it relates to beauty. But it's not something that we actually want to be doing. So when we have customers, they even comment and be like, oh my God, this product made my hair grow, like 10 inches, something ridiculous. We're like, well, actually, that's not why we designed it.
Yes.
We believe in foundational health and like filling the gaps in people's diets. Most people are lacking in certain nutrients like vitamin D and omega-3s.
Well, as we're finding during COVID, vitamin D was one of these issues, right? Like people who are low in vitamin D were more susceptible. I mean, who knows if that actually will turn out to be the case, but that was definitely part of the dialogue. Yeah,
it was part of the dialogue. And we try to be incredibly buttoned up on the regulatory side. So if I don't have a study, a lot of studies actually showing a particular benefit with that dosage that I have in my product, I'm not going to make that claim. And I'll actually discredit people that will say that this product did that for them. Like, that's great, but that's not our product. And I think that's kind of been a little bit abused, I would say, in our category, especially through social media. I think companies feel like they can just kind of get away with it and things will kind of go away over time. But to scale, I think to the scale that we're in and some other companies as well, you have to be really careful about what claims you're making, even if it's so easy to create an Instagram ad, or even it's so easy to, repurpose an influencer who's talking about crazy claims.
Yes, that is. Influencers are a great marketing channel, but they're not scientists. So their claims, there's a question there. Like if a product, if an influencer makes a claim about a product that's not true, I guess that's arm's distance from the
No, you could
creator?
Still get in trouble for it.
You can still get in trouble, yeah.
Because you're paying them. So we have to monitor them, yes. We have to monitor that really carefully. And I would say like it's I see a lot of companies not doing that. And I'm sure they may not get caught, but it's not something we want to, mess around with. And I think it's important for consumers to know that, our product has nothing to do with COVID at all. and we are
people
not
literally doing like, this will help you. Oh, right. There was somebody was doing something with this. Like, I think Alex Jones or somebody was talking about like one of their supplements was helping with COVID. So fact check me on that, Nick, before I put Alex Jones into that. But Alex Jones COVID vitamins or something. Alex Jones is always selling supplements or something.
It's horrible, yeah.
And it's horrible. You're just like, he might have actually gotten, does the FDA even enforce this stuff? Like, are they really on top of it, or are they just make examples once in a while?
Yeah, it's the FDA and the FTC. And I think it's important, a lot of times the smaller players might kind of fly under the radar, but as you scale, a lot of people don't even realize that supplements are regulated by the FDA. When I started the company, I thought, hey, supplements are not regulated. This is horrible. But it turns out they are. And it's really important to have meaningful substantiation for what you talk about as a brand, not just for the FDA, but for your customers as well.
Here it is. The FDA from insider.com, not inside.com, insider.com. The FDA has warned InfoWars founder Alex Jones to stop selling false coronavirus cures, including silver toothpaste. Let me just say, for the record, if you're taking any advice on life from Alex Jones, you have already failed the basic test to be in the gene pool. So please, for the love of God, if you're watching Alex Jones, take whatever he tells you to take. Just do it. It's fine with me. Listen, I could keep you on here for hours, but I've already kept you on here for well over an hour, and you've been awesome as a guest. Continued success, and stay safe. I know your showroom, we're talking off hours, was looted during some of the, I guess there were valid protests going on, but then there was some looting that broke out, and these were like coordinated like criminals who just demolished Melrose and Fairfax. That area got demolished. But your store got hit too, yeah?
Yeah, our store got hit, and we're going to rebuild. Our business doesn't rely on retail. I mean, I do feel bad for a lot of the businesses, immigrant businesses and Black-owned businesses that are on Melrose that got hit. But it's also, our company, we're standing in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement and have really committed to that as a brand. So, it sucks about getting looted, but we'll move on. And I think there's a lot more we can do as a business and a country to support the movement.
Yeah, absolutely. And just without picking any sides here, please register to vote. I mean, this is an election that matters if there ever was one.
Sure.
Kat Schneider, thanks for coming on the program. Continued success. Say hello to Brian Singerman for me. And everybody go buy some ritual.com right now for your wife, for your husband, for your boyfriend, for your girlfriend, boy, whatever. Combination kids coming soon. And check out Ritual on all platforms. She's got @Ritual on every platform.
I have a code if we can use it.
Oh, yeah. Code away.
Startups for 25% off their first month.
There you go. Use the code STARTUPS for 25% off, everybody. And make sure you pick up some silver toothpaste, then you can brush away that coronavirus. That is not true. No. That's my InfoWars. So what is even silver toothpaste? My God. Crazy. All right. Stay safe, Kat. Thanks for coming on the pod.
Thanks so much for having me.